Bathroom exhaust fans. Every house has them, but you may not know there's a lot of things you need to spec and you need to think about when it comes to selecting one of those. On the build show today, master electrician CJ with CNC Electric in California is going to give us all the options. Today's best of build show. Let's get going.
All right, guys. CJ with the Build Show, and today we're live on the job site, and we got a couple exhaust fans. These are super common models that we work with every day, and I thought this was a perfect time to highlight when and where and why we would use a different exhaust fan. Now, these are exhaust fans for a bathroom, for a laundry room, so let's get these bad boys open and check it out. All right, so we're gonna start with this one. This is actually the Whisper Green model. This is the full depth version. They call it the Whisper Green Select. A few different models on this, and the reason we got this one is because it has a light kit. Sometimes you don't need a light kit. In this application, it's a little mechanical room, and they opted for a light kit. So it's actually built into the trim. You can get it without it. And then we got another version behind us. It's a little smaller. But let's get this guy open and see what's in here. This is the bracket. And actually, this is not a sponsored video, but Panasonic is our preferred brand to install. And this is actually a really great method that they changed recently in the past few years, is their mounting bracket, which I really dig. They did a good job. That's the mounting bracket. We got our grill, which we usually keep packaged up because you got to think, most of the time we're installing these on a job that is not going to be trimmed out. So we're roughing it in. Then they're going to drywall and paint and everything. So we want to keep this guy clean. And what I like to do is keep it in the package, set it to the side, and we'll package it back up in the box after we install. What is right here? The housing. We're going to set this box to the side because we're actually going to use that box. We're going to package the trim back up. And then one thing that we do at CNC Electric, it's just a standard operating procedure when we install these, is we're going to pull the motor out. It makes it a little easier to install. It's only 3 screws, pulls right out. And then we're going to set that, because it's not going to be operational until we trim out, in the box, wrap it up, and then we'll install it after. And that just helps us keep some of the dirt and grime of drywall and paint and overspray out of the housing. Even though they'll get taped up, it's just better to keep that bad boy clean and fresh. And again, we'll package it up in the box. But I want to highlight a few critical details of why I like this Panasonic. I'm going to open up the other one, and I'm going to kind of put them side by side, and I'll do a comp of a few features that I like about the Whisper Green Select and then the thinner version, so stay tuned. All right, so this is the Whisper Value. This is actually one of the more inexpensive versions, great for economy projects where budget's an issue, but performance is still a must. It's also a lower profile version, and so they actually fit in much tighter ceilings. So there's a few reasons you might use this, but I wanted to show you how much different it is. The upside and downside to both of them, there's pros and cons. So we're going to go into detail about each one, and I'm going to explain some of the obvious stuff and some of the not so obvious stuff. All right, so first up is the Whisper Green Select. The larger motor has a higher CFM rating. So in instances where you need a little bit more airflow, you have adjustable CFM on both of these, but the actual CFM output of the smaller Whisper Value is 50, 80, and 100 CFM. And then when you got the Whisper Green Select, you could actually go up to 110 CFM. So you got a 50, 80, and 110 CFM. So 110 CFM versus 100, so a little bit more airflow in this one. Same duct size, but you can see on the Whisper Green Value, it is compressed a little bit, still a 4-inch duct. This will actually accept a 4 and a 6 if you take the collar off or slide over. So you can go a 6-inch duct or a 4-inch duct. Again, this one's oblong because it can fit in tighter wall cavities. So when you're dealing with space constraints, tight framing, this is what you're going to want to use. Again, a little less feature as far as CFM output. And also, I want to highlight why this guy is about twice as much. Again, higher CFM, lower noise. So this actually has a quieter motor. And if you look at the ratings, this one's a little louder than this, but they're so quiet. But if noise is an issue, you're going to want to go with the Whisper Green Select. Again, both the high quality motors. That's one reason I really like the Panasonic is they have a great build quality. I mean, if you go to Home Depot or have ever had, actually, if you go to any large box store and have installed some of the off-the-shelf cheap stuff, they're not as robust, and the build quality is really superior, I think, on the Panasonics. So that's some of the obvious stuff, right? I mean, size, output, but let's dive into some of the deeper features. If you want to use any sensors, Panasonic does a great job of having modules that actually plug in to here, and I'm going to show you because we got a humidity module. And what is a module? What are we talking about here? The humidity module is an automatic sensor to detect humidity and turn it on. So that's pretty cool because you can actually just plug it in. They have a motion sensor module, so if you want this thing to come on when someone walks into the room, you can put the motion sensor module. They have a timeout module, which means that if you turn it on, you can set the dial internally to turn off at a certain time. So Panasonic's done a great job of kind of integrating some of that stuff into the fan. So that's a big upside to using the Whisper Green Selects. But I also want to show you some of the technical stuff that's often overlooked. So let's dive in. I'm going to get a screwdriver. I'm going to take this thing apart and kind of show you the nuts and bolts of it. All right, so before I set this aside, I want to show you the grills, light kit. I've always liked that Panasonic keeps their grills really simple, so they don't really stand out. I mean, these things are on the ceiling in a bathroom or a laundry, just doing their job, exhausting air. So you don't necessarily, I don't think you want that to stand out. So Panasonic's always got nice square edges. I've always dug that as far as the aesthetics go. Again, the light kit on this is an LED panel, really simple. But I want to highlight some of the features that this guy has. Again, this is a real basic one, selectable CFM, on, off, tight fit. But again, when I show you on this one that these ducts pop off, they both do it. So everything that this guy is not, we're going to set this to the side, and I'm going to show you and kind of focus on this one right now. Again, the light kit, this trim is going to go in the bag until we trim out, but you can see it has a simple pin paired wire harness that plugs in inside here. So when you're ready to trim out, it's a real simple spring and plug, and then the driver for the LED is actually integrated right here. So trim, really basic, but easy to clean. You're going to want to be able to pull these down, so that's another feature I like, and then a good build quality. But as far as the actual fan goes itself, a couple features that really stand out and make this guy so awesome is, like I mentioned earlier, is these modules. So Panasonic has a plethora of modules that you can actually buy as accessories, not required. You certainly could have this on a wall switch or a timer and turn it on and off. But if you wanted to integrate some features and not have extra things on the wall or have things automated to where people don't have to think about it, here's a great one. This is a humidity module. You can see Panasonic's done a great job of installing these little covers with the modules labeled. So there's multiple modules. Again, a motion sensor, a timeout, and a humidity is what we have here. And look how easy this is. You actually just plug it right in. It clicks in, and then you can adjust the humidity to react. So if you just were to hardwire this with constant power or leave the fan switch on, this module will regulate and turn on the fan based off of wherever you set it to relative humidity on the temperature, not temperature, percentage. So that's great, right? Adjustable from 30 to 80% of relative humidity. So great feature, love it. Again, you don't have to use it, but if it's something that's useful, check those out. Again, timeout and motion sensor is a cool feature too, if you wanted it to turn off automatically or turn on automatically when you sense motion. So that's great. Again, that's all features that you can read in the brochure, but I want to dive into some of the stuff that a nerdy electrician like myself values greatly in these fans versus other competitors that are really useful. So first things first, getting the motor out, servicing it, or pulling it out during construction to keep dust off. So easy. It's 2 screws on this model. Some of them have 3. But then all you have to do is unplug the wire harness that goes to the motor. That's hard. That has a receptacle port to plug into on the junction box side. And then look, pull this bad boy right out. And again, you can service this, replace it, or just set it aside in the box during construction. So again, it's not getting dusty. I know I keep saying that, but I can't tell you how many jobs I've walked in that these were installed by someone else, and they're just completely caked with sheetrock dust just from the construction process. So yank these out, wrap them back in plastic, and put them away. And then one thing I want to show you too, I've already talked about the build quality, but this thing is a nice piece of equipment compared to some of the other ones that are real flimsy and don't hold their shape when you actually install them. So I love that feature. But here's a trick that I learned really early on that makes these really cool. So obviously in new construction, we got open framing, we're going to install the bracket, and we're going to install that up into a ceiling cavity or in studs, and we're able to fasten it, and then they drywall over, just like a junction box or a recessed light. Easy when it comes to new construction, but a feature that's really great about these Panasonics is they're retrofit friendly. What does that mean? Well, what happens if you're removing an old fan that happens to be a little smaller than this, and you don't want to blow open a big giant hole of sheetrock to get this big duct, because you see this opening is only needed to be this big, but you would need to cut this. On most fans, they're welded to it. Panasonic did a good job and actually installed a removable version. So you just have to take this one set screw out. And if you were to use this in a retrofit application, just like a recessed light where you can cut a hole and slide it up, we have videos on the build show showing some remodel cans versus new construction. This guy can pop off really easily. And this is your output where your ducting is going to go on. So we'll set that to the side. And now you can see if you were to install this and had finished sheetrock on the ceiling, you could set it up, trace your square, cut your drywall out and slide it up, and it would go in. But the first thing you would do is slide this up in the hole, connect your ducting, and then you would slide this up with it and click it on, and then slide this in the hole. And since this is already in the drywall cutout, this is now in the drywall cutout. You got to use your imagination. You don't have to repair sheetrock. So the ability to pull this off is just a complete game changer. And again, it's not a feature that's on every fan that we've installed by other manufacturers. So big bonus on the retrofit end. Again, really easy and serviceable, and just overall great quality. Again, so many models out there are just flimsy. So we'll put this back together, and I'll show a couple other cool things. But in the grand scheme of things, these fans and the build quality and the ease of install, and again, the serviceability is great. All right, so I showed you how to take the motor out. I'll show you how easy it is to put it back in. You literally line it back up, slide it back in, and then you're going to fasten the couple screws, and you're back in business. And again, this was just that one bolt inside. So great, easy to work with. Doesn't get much better than that. Plug the wire harness back in, and again, you're online. So let's talk real quickly about why we would ever change the CFM. Air changes per hour is based off of the volume of the room and how many times you want that air to change. So why wouldn't you just pump it up all the way to 110? In some instances, if the room's really small, you'll get doors closed and you don't want air draft. So you're going to use that mathematical formula, which is easily Googleable. Again, there's a ton of great videos on the Build Show of talking about air changes per hour, but that's how many times you're going to cycle and exhaust the air in the room. So you got to look that one up and check it out, because there's a lot of good content about why and how the CFM is actually going to affect the air quality. So that is why we have adjustable CFM and why it's such a neat feature, and you're not having to buy multiple fans. You're able to just select it right there. So great feature. And then I want to show something that I don't know is common knowledge, because in different regions, there's different codes, right? And so we're based out of California, and we have pretty strict energy codes, and we also have some indoor air quality codes, where on new construction builds, they are requiring us to have fans, which we'll call to have indoor air quality constantly on, right? So there's some codes, Title 24 codes, that require fans to run at a certain percentage and to constantly be cycling air in the house. And that's great, but there are these other wires in the junction box that are called the boost wires, marked signal. And what that allows you to do is hardwire constant hot power to where you're able to utilize that feature of the constant run, again, in conjunction with humidity if you want. And if you need to bump it up, let's say you have a laundry room and you want to actually turn it on to get some more airflow cycling, you can have this boost signal wires connected to a normal switch located on the wall. And even though it's running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because of the energy code, Title 24 requirements that we're required to have, those boost wires will boost it up to 100%, and you're able to utilize it as a normal fan too. So again, just a feature that Panasonic has that you don't need to use, but in instances where you need it, it's there. So that's another good one. And again, the overall build quality, I think, is one of the main staples that Panasonic's known for. So yeah, there we are, exhaust fans. All right, so I want to highlight one of the things that I kind of like about, this is the newer, or at least to me newer, 20 years ago this fan still existed, but obviously less features, and I think they still have some models out where they have the sliding arms, which are fine, but this is a pretty creative way that this fan actually slips through this, and then we're going to install this, and I'm going to show you that this actually can expand in a stud bay. If you have framing at different dimensions, you can expand to the studs. The screws are actually already preset, which is really kind of cool. And then they have these tabs that you pop out, and you're able to slide those up flush with framing. So I'm just showing you this now, and I'm going to show you up in the ceiling what that actually looks like. Follow me. All right, guys, so I'm up in this ridiculously small, what is going to be a laundry closet with a stacked washer dryer. But we need an exhaust fan. We're already pre-wired, and I'm going to show you why I kind of like, I got this bracket mounted on one side for example, and you can see that this stud bay, I'm able to telescope this out, which I think is pretty innovative. It's pretty neat because you're able to mount this first. I've got our center laid out, and the screws, like I said before, are preset. And grab your drill, and they make life a lot easier when they think about all these small things. So once you got that bracket up there, you can see I've already prepped. I've got the the duct output off, and I'm going to have to slip this guy up. The duct is coiled up above, I'll show you, but essentially the duct would go on here. You would fasten it with duct tape, quack, quack, or the HVAC guys have those fancy zip ties and whatnot. But we're up here, and then you take the housing itself and slip it up, and you're in business. All right, so we're sliding it up, bottom it all the way out, and then it comes with the metal tapping screws that I'm going to fasten right into the frame. So again, really slick install, just one of the cool features that we like on these fans. All right, guys, so we installed the fan, and like I said at the beginning of the video, these motors are extremely easy to take out. And so this is the little nerdy side of what we do on a new construction job, but again, is to keep the drywall dust, paint overspray. Even though they have these neat cardboard guards with instructions to actually set up and block this motor without the grill on for drywall purposes, we still pull the motor out. It's 2 screws and a plug. We put it in the box. We keep the grill wrapped up because this guy's not going on until trim out. So we put that in the box, and then I will still insert the protective cardboard cover on the fan housing in on our install. And then what we'll do is package it up, tape our box shut, and then the most important part, because this could look like trash to anybody, is we're going to put this in a nice, safe spot, because sometimes it's 6 months until this is done, or a few months, a couple weeks, depending on how big the job is. And we're going to tell them to save this, and we'll either take it to the shop, or if there's safe storage on the job site, stash it away. So that's just a little build better. That's what the Build Show is all about. So check out more videos on buildshownetwork.com. That is our exhaust fan video.
I love CJ's videos because he's a master electrician, but he breaks it down in a really understandable way. Certainly, if you're on the path to becoming a master electrician, you should be watching these videos. But for me as a builder, I really like CJ's videos because it really gives me a good basic understanding of his trade and what he's thinking about when it comes to selecting bath fans. Or go watch his videos. He's probably got 50 videos now on the site. He really does an excellent job of understanding his trade and really breaking it down for you. You can find a link in the description to CJ's page on thebuildshow.com. But don't forget to hit subscribe on our newsletter. That'll be in a link below. We actually have 3 newsletters now going out a week, which are going to tell you all the new stuff on the site. We publish like 16 or maybe even 17 new videos every single week. And this is the way for you to know, hey, there's a new video from CJ about this topic, or from Lydia or Matt or Jake or Steve or whoever. All that's going to come on that email from my team. It's only 3 days a week. I think they're like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, something like that. But it's a fantastic way to know what's new on the site, which then you can stream to your TV, you can watch on your phone, whatever. Guys, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button below. This has been the Tuesday best of. We're almost done. We've been scrolling through all the Build Show Network subscribers. But don't forget, I have brand new videos on Fridays, and when we're done with this, I'll be back to every Tuesday and every Friday. Hit the subscribe button below. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on the Build Show.